Okay, so selections. Here we are again. Um, the tools that exist in Photoshop, there are many. And if you ever don't see any windows like I have on my screen right now, press Tab. Tab will show windows and hide windows. Basically, it's for previewing images. It's a good way to make it look like everything's gone, so you don't have a visually cluttered interface. And if you want to bring it back, just press Tab. It's an easy, quick little shortcut to give you peace of mind. So looking at this image, what I'm seeing is I have a lot of blue. What happens if I want to cut this thing out? And we did this last, or was it 2 classes ago at this point? It was a while ago. How many of you ran into problems with this little thing up here? Most everybody? If you used like the magic wand, or sorry, the quick selection tool, what it does is it grabs everything of a similar color. And because that's not distinct enough, it grabs it and it eats it right up. Now you could zoom in, and I'm just using Control Plus to do that. And then if you didn't know this, you can hold down the space bar to get the hand tool. And then you can click and pan just by holding it down and then clicking the mouse and letting go. Right now you're seeing it kind of have a little bit of weight to it. The faster I flick it, the further it moves. That's flick panning. It's an option you can turn off if you don't like that. I don't like it because I work quickly, and it sometimes causes me to go past where I want to be. So I have to go back and recenter it. But with the quick mask tool, I could go back in, decrease my brush size, either up here or with the keyboard, and then I could run over each of these. Oh, I'm subtracting by holding the Alt key, and then I could use a small brush and then run over each of these colors. And you can see if I get into a situation where my brush is bigger than the object that I'm trying to keep, it doesn't know quite what to make of it. Because if I run over this, it's going to be like, oh, I'm just going to grab it all. And then I'm going to have a big blob up there. Not what I want. This is a situation where you have a lot of detail that you want to drop, or at least selectively grab. So this is where the other version of this tool comes in handy. The Magic Wand tool is really sweet for individual colors. The quick selection tool allows you to grab big groups of things, everything at once, of a like color. But the Magic Wand tool lets you do the same thing, but it lets you pick the amount of tolerance that you have. The lower the tolerance, the less picky it's going to be, the more picky it's going to be about what you clicked on. The higher the tolerance, the less picky it is. So it doesn't make sense, you just have to see it. So a tolerance of 32 is a good average middle of the road thing. If I wanted to get rid of this blue right here, I can just click. But what happened is it deselected all of that blue. Remember, I had everything down here selected. Let me go back a step, just hitting Control Z. If I wanted to get rid of this little bit of blue right here, add it to my selection, I could hold down Shift and click. And you see what it did right there? Instead of having the big average selection, what I did with my tolerance of 32, it's looking for every color that's like this one in this area. Whatever I click on, if I shift click, it's going to find that little area. This is with the Magic Wand, which is, remember, underneath the quick selection, both of the shortcut keys are W, which is really annoying, because if you have one and you want the other, you have to click on the menu to get the other one. So all I'm doing is shift click, shift click, shift click, and if I want to get rid of something, Shift is plus to add things to it, holding down Alt or Option if you have a Mac, and then you see how my cursor changed from a plus, from a whatever, why is that, there we go, from nothing to a little minus next to it. It's hard to see right there.
If you increase the gain on that, would you get more of the spikes?
When you say increase the gain, you mean be more picky?
Yeah, see how it doesn't quite get it out.
If I went to, I don't know, let's say a tolerance of 15, that's a lower tolerance, so it's going to be more picky about what I choose. So if I hold down the subtract and then go and click on each of these colors, I can get back. Oop, that was a little bit too far.
Can I ask why you're saying subtract?
Because right now my selection is inverted. You can see how I have all the blue selected,
Yeah.
but I want to bring back out of that selection the spikes. So because my let me flip between these two. Sometimes you have to alternate between Shift to add and then Alt to drop to make it look right, because as you can see, there's not a clean edge on that at all. It's pretty close. All I'm going to do is I'm going to grab subtract, and add back, and then subtract, and add back, until it looks kind of close enough. What I could do, instead of leaving it like this, and let me zoom back just a second. Instead of leaving it like this, what I could do is try to make this selection again. But for now, let me demonstrate my point. I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm just going to fill this with black. You can do that by going to Image, Edit, Fill. And you can choose the foreground, the background, or remember we were playing around with Content Aware the first day, where we had millions of cats going everywhere. What I want is a foreground color in this instance.
So you selected the sky.
Yes, I selected only the sky.
You subtracted out the metal.
Basically, yeah. So now you can see that I've got the ornament sticking up at the top, but it's a little bit rough on the edges, right?
Did you use the healing tool for that?
Well, the healing tool is more for like spots. Because if I wanted to use this guy right here and get rid of this thing, I would define a point and then click there, and what it does is it kind of fills in that pattern and that texture. It's kind of like Clone Stamp, but it blends it a little bit more. But we'll
You have like a drawing name and then
well, kind of, but not really what I would use in this instance.
so what would you use?
To clean up the selection,
Yeah, clean up the edges. So it looks like it's just like naturally verified content.
what you'd want to do, this menu up here, the select menu, will allow you to select everything, deselect, reselect, blah, blah, blah. You can select a color range, or if you have a selection loaded, notice it's not giving me very many options in here. Because I don't have a selection loaded, I can't do anything with it. Because it's like, well, what do you want me to do? I don't know what this is. So I'm going to go ahead and load this selection that I made back. What I'm doing is I'm holding down the Control button, and then I'm clicking on the icon of the layer. And what it's going to do is it's going to load the transparency as a selection. And it works with masks, it works with layers, it works with anything that's on a transparent background. It's a really, really, really easy way to get back what you may have accidentally clicked off of and lost. So I can't tell you how many hours I would have saved had I known about this when I was doing this consistently.
So what did you pick?
I hold down Control, and notice how the icon changes when I mouse over the cursor changes when I mouse over the icon. Control, and then click on this, and it loads that selection right back. It's really sweet. So I'm going to turn this eyeball off. So I've got this. If I wanted to clean up the selection, I can go to Select, one of these. I'm not quite sure why. Refine. Oh, there we go. I can go to Modify or Refine Edge. Modify allows me to adjust the border. I mean, basically, these menu options mean what they say. If you would like to adjust the border, you can do that. If you smooth the selection, you can also do that. And basically what it does, if you have all the spikes, if you smooth it, it'll make it into a big circle. You don't want that. Unless you have a really rough object and you want a clean edge. In that kind of situation, you want that. You can expand the selection. You can contract the selection by X amount of pixels. So you can make it go out. Let's do that. So if I wanted to expand it by 4 pixels, see what it did? Because we're looking at the flip side of this, let me just go back and demonstrate it in a slightly different way. Let's try this again. We go to Select, If your select options are ever not there, like the grow and similar aren't available to me, remember to select your layer, because Photoshop is looking for a layer to sample the colors based off of. If you don't have a layer selected, then it doesn't know what it's doing, so it can't do it. But if I select the background, notice how all that stuff comes back. So if I wanted to expand the selection by, I don't know, say 3 pixels this time, I click OK. See how it grows it out and makes a big circle? Basically, it added 3 pixels to all that stuff right there.
I thought 3 pixels would be a lot smaller than that.
Remember we're zoomed in really far. So each one of those blocks is a pixel, or close to a pixel.
Okay.
If I undo that by hitting Control-Z and go to Select, Modify, Contract, it's the opposite. So I'm going to just do 1 pixel this time. And see how it got rid of all that stuff. Basically what we're seeing up there is the selection in 1 pixel on all sides. So when you have something like this, where it's maybe at most 2 pixels wide, if you go in 1 pixel, it's just going to disappear. It's going to shrink completely. If you expand it, it's going to add 3 pixels, and it's going to, like you saw, beef it up. You know, not what we wanted to do in this instance, but it shows it illustrates the point. There's another tool in Photoshop that's very helpful. It's called Refine Edge. And it's a tool that basically combines all of those. It allows you to detect edges, it allows you to smooth, it allows you to adjust the contrast, and it will live preview it for you. So you can see what you're doing with that selection. And again, I'm holding down the space bar and then panning through this to see what's going on. So I would like more contrast, and I'd also like a smooth edge.
Is that the preview right there?
That is a preview. Watch what happens. If I have everything set to 0, this is what I'm getting. It's not a very good edge. It's a little bit soft, wouldn't you say? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank up the contrast, and it adds in those pixels, right? And then I'm going to smooth it. Because it's a little bit jagged, smoothing it will smooth it. So you get a nice clean selection. It's great for sides of buildings, things like that. But notice what it does right there, in this little corner. If I take the smoothing down, it's looking at the difference between this point right here and this point right here. And then it's drawing a line between those two. So what it did, this is why I hate this stinking thing, because I flip it and then it goes way too far. So up here, it ruins it. Not what I want. But if I just do a little bit, maybe it'll help. Nope, not even a little bit. You don't want to smooth things with points, but you do want contrast. If you have a face or hair that you're cutting out, you usually want to smooth it so that you lose that halo. You can also shift the edge in or out. So if you want just a little bit more, you can work with it. And then you can smooth it. Or not. It's not. Ever. You can tell it to intelligently detect pixels at a certain radius around it. So if you know where you're going, you can get there pretty easily. And this is just a little tool that shows you what you're getting before you actually do it. It's a helpful thing, especially when you're starting to use it. I'm just going to say OK to this. And let's make a new layer and then fill this one again. Oop. Foreground color. And let's compare this one to that one. This is the original one. See how it looks a little bit funky up there versus this one. I'm not a fan of either, quite honestly. But actually, you know what? I'm more of a fan of the first one than I am of the second one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it looks better. It doesn't look as crowded.
Yeah, especially up at the top there.
I mean, I suppose you could maybe turn that into just a green circle if you wanted.
That would lose the effect. If you're doing Photoshop or photography of a building for any kind of commercial purposes, what you want to do is you want to have accurate to a teeth, especially if you're working for a realtor, imagery. Because if you Photoshop out power lines going to the back of a house and somebody buys the house because they thought there were no power lines, then you could be held liable, and that's not fun.